All right, our last thing on the agenda is a quick panel discussion for anyone who's got some input. That would be great.
Okay, so now is your opportunity to ask any questions to Lorraine, Stephen or Ash. Please, this is a great opportunity to ask any questions of these experts. Yes, would you? Yes, please ask.
Lorraine, one of the things that I worry about, and I'm passionate about delirium, is when we report on hospital-acquired complications, one of our goals as an older person's clinical stream has unashamedly been to increase delirium rates, because I think what we see is completely underreported. But hospital-acquired complications are not seen as a positive thing. So in some ways, monitoring them is actually almost a disincentive to report. So how do we manage that balance? Because I think if we recognise, we manage, and these are the people that fall.
Can I just, I will summarise that question. Could you please come up to the microphone for the people online? The question, if I can summarise appropriately, is when we identify a delirium, it becomes a hospital-acquired complication, and how do we manage the identification and the hospital-acquired complication and that tension of in hospital?
I don't know. But I do say this, there are a couple of things. First off, what we've noticed is an under-recognition of delirium generally. And when we look at our serious incident reviews, it's very obvious that staff haven't picked up when someone's confused, agitated, they've not done a delirium screen, and actually put effective measures in place in the clinical review and management and a delirium care pathway, which is really critically important. So I think it's a balancing thing right now. One of the other things I think too is where we're seeing often where it's not picked up well is in ED, but also we know that people come with a delirium. So that's why it's really important we understand that in ED, that it's actually recorded there, that they've actually come with a delirium so that it's not then becoming a hospital-acquired delirium. And when this was put up, I know that there was a lot of discussion with the Australian Commission around this particular measure. We were in conversations with it. I know Professor Jackie Close was particularly concerned about it being one of those hospital-acquired complications, and we were in discussions at that time with the Commission in relation to it. So I think we've got the problem with, yes, we've got this measure of what it is in terms of what our HACs are, or hospital-acquired complication, but at the same time, what we do want to see is people being identified, but we want the plan of care in place. So if we see more people being identified and a care plan being put in place, we should be seeing more effective management. But if we understand the precursors as to why people develop delirium, then we may not see it happening as much. So we've got a lot of services that are beginning to evolve now. So we've got geriatricians that are involved in perioperative work, helping to look at delirium pre-operatively. And this is happening in small pockets everywhere, but not uniform by any means now. And then I think it's usually how we then manage post-operatively in understanding delirium as well. Has anyone else want to make a comment on it? So I don't think there's an easy answer, but you're right. We want more identified, but we don't want it to be a big stick because we're doing our job effectively.
I think in some ways it should be that the HAC is too low, and there should be almost a recognition that your HAC rate for delirium is too low. And particularly in districts that are geriatrician poor, so you met our geriatrician, that's it. One hospital, but there are 37 of them. So he can't be everywhere. We know we're missing it. And when we look at our rate, it's way too low. And that's not poor care, that's poor recognition.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Because most older people will present with some form of delirium.
Also, when we talk about delirium, we often think of hyperdelirium, but the
hypodelirium
it's a really easy patient. It's so much easier for the nurses, so they don't identify that as a problem.
No, yes, I agree, and we do talk about that as well. What I didn't mention and what we will be doing is we're producing a series of little video vignettes to go with our comprehensive care standard, and one of them we've got is around early birth Barbuto, who is a dementia care CNC, talking on dementia and delirium, and she certainly mentions hypodelirium as well. And I think that's still how do we get that that education to staff to raise awareness around, yes, it's not a good patient necessarily. We're concerned because they're sleeping, they haven't been eating, they haven't been drinking properly. We're actually deconditioning them further. And what does that mean for us in providing effective care? Once I've said it as before, clinically challenging all the time when we're thinking about caring for older people. Thanks for the question. It's a good one. Good point.
Okay, any other questions? I can see that we're at 3 o'clock, Ash. I'd just like to remind you that Ashley Wright is your falls coordinator, so please reach out to her if you have any questions around falls or comprehensive care. She's here to work with you in your district.
So I just want to give a special thank you, Ingrid, and I just want to give a special acknowledgement to Ash. When we started this conversation a little while ago with Stephen, would you mind standing up? Because Stephen's been really important behind all of this from the network to help facilitate today. Do you want to say anything? No? What's on this one? So Steve helps behind as our project officer now for the network and helps to bring it all together. But we did with Ash, there was a lot of work going on and we weren't sure with our numbers and whether we get the right people. But look, I've been truly impressed with the quality of the work that's been presented today. I want to congratulate you all on that. It's fantastic to be out here, despite all the things that we hear of the challenges that you're facing. I've always found regional areas, rural areas, are adaptive and agile, and you do come up with some ways of working through the challenges that you're dealing with. But I hope that we can support you further. And a special acknowledgement and thank you to you, Stephen, Professor Stephen Lord, who manages the Network for Neuroscience Research Australia. It's through that work that we're able to offer the research background and support also, and that's translating that. What does that mean for us, translating it into evidence? So thank you very much for your support and enabling us all to be here today. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So there you go. I've been given the message. We have finished. I want to thank everybody that's been online today and for your participation. And please don't hesitate to ask any questions. So thank you to everybody.